We're here with the director of Loan Studio. Welcome, Colin Sheppard.
Well, thanks, Suresh.
Colin, can you just talk us through your history and how did you get into starting Loan Studio?
I've been in the industry now, the finance industry, for probably 10 years. Previous to that, still in the finance industry with banks and car finance, and decided to make the move into mortgage broking about 10 years ago. Having worked with a very successful brokerage for about 6 or 7 years, decided it was time to start my own and move forward. So it's always been around finance, probably the last 10 or 15 years, real passion and flair for it, and decided, it was an area I wanted to step into and start my own business.
So obviously your position is director. What's your role in the company?
My role is very much sort of sales focused. It's more broker focused. To go out, attract, and I guess train, mentor up and coming new brokers, to build a very strong sales team that can be integrated and implemented in with our referral partners. So the business is sort of split up on two different sides. One of the other directors, and Sonia Rolfe, she heads up the customer service and the administration piece. Mine's very sales focused and broker focused.
Fantastic. Why did you start Loan Studio?
I guess having worked in other mortgage brokerages over the years, saw a real gap in regards to the level of service that was being provided. Saw an opportunity for an emerging brand in the space. A lot of mortgage brokers out there have been doing it for a while. It was quite old. It was very corner shop style, people working out of their own house. Saw an opportunity to start a business that I thought could go retail and provide a total solution, not only for the customer, but also for referral partners. So with that in mind, we had some ideas on how we could penetrate the market with just a new, fresh approach, and went out there to try and attract young, up-and-coming sort of brokers that worked into that model.
Well, certainly Loan Studio in such a short period of time has been recognised by many a large referral partner and has won many accolades.
Yep.
What makes it so successful?
I guess our commitment to high standards. We wanted to go out there and get the best and the brightest, not necessarily with experience, but people had the right attitude that were going to fit the sort of culture that we wanted to create of excellence. We knew that we could bring people in and mould them to our way, that it would not only be a successful company, but individually people would thrive. That's sort of been proven over the years. We've got a number of brokers that sit amongst the platinum achievers within our aggregation company in Choice Aggregation. We also have a lot of brokers that have been recognised on a national level with Australian Mortgage Awards. So we've always had a high standard. In my previous business, I ran a sales team there that went on to win 2 national mortgage broking awards and finals for 5 or 6 years. We were fortunate when we started Loan Studio that we brought that experience along. First year we were a finalist at the Australian Mortgage Awards. Second year we won Best New Brokerage. Last year we were strong enough to make it as a finalist. So the business has had a huge amount of success, and that's been because we've brought very talented people, but passionate people, to the business and just sort of boost the business overall.
So you've got a number of great brokers. What do you think makes a good broker?
Look, I think that there's a lot of starting points for a good broker, but they certainly have to be a strong communicator. We do a lot of work with key referral partners. It's probably the biggest message that they send us, is that there's a lot of people out there that work with them but don't get back to them in a timely manner. Their communication isn't where it needs to be. In our business, I think to have the drive to be really setting goals and pushing the limits, is a really strong characteristic that a broker needs to have. They certainly need to be organised and good time managers, especially in our business where we demand that of them. But I think they need to be mouldable. I think there's a lot of brokers out there that have huge potential, but they just don't adapt to structure and frameworks that people build into their business, and they think they can do it all. So I think that's one of the key characteristics, that they need to be able to mouldable and form part of a broader team.
And so what do you think are the limitations, and why do you think there are brokers out there that are not reaching their full potential?
I think it sort of ties back to the last question. A lot of brokers out there are born salesmen, or they have expert knowledge in respect to products and out there, or credit policies out there, but they don't really play to their strengths. They try to do everything. They try to do the administration, they try to do the sales, they try and do the marketing, and I think where they fall down is they try and juggle too many balls. What we try and do in our business is segment that and let people play to their strengths. If they're great at sales, if they're great with referral partners, then that's what they're going to do, and we will have a production team and an administration team to back them up. So I think the biggest downfall is that they just don't play to their strengths. They certainly don't set the standards within themselves of excellence. They have pretty poor standards. And I guess just not really thinking about the structure needed or the frameworks needed to provide a great end product or a great end service to a customer, as well as a referral partner.
Okay, Colin, talk us through the model that you've created in Loan Studio and how does that translate into building industry-leading brokers?
I guess the model is very different to a lot out there. A lot of people go out there and they try and attract the best and brightest, but the fact is a lot of those guys are out there doing it themselves. They're very successful, and that's the reason why they are self-employed. Our model is more about going out and getting people with the right attitudes, the right opinion, the commitment to mortgage broking and a passion for it, and moulding that over time. So it's a much longer process. It's a lot more labour intensive and training intensive. But effectively, we take someone in off the street and we give them what they don't have as a new broker. We give them the referral partnerships and the leads and the connections that they need there. We give them the back-end support and administration support that they need to ensure that their customers are getting the best service. Website, social media presence certainly helps in respect to being able to communicate and client manage. So I guess from our perspective, we try and take it on a more holistic sort of view of mortgage broking, and we plug people in and slowly build up on their skills. It gives them a nice lead-in and sort of exposure to varying parts of the business, but not all at once. So they can initially focus on product. They might focus on the sales techniques required when dealing with a client, when dealing with a referrer, and we sort of build on that over time. And we find if you take your time with them, that over time they're more likely to stick around, and secondly, you're going to produce a much higher quality broker.
So what sort of volumes would a new broker entering your program expect to sort of be able to earn or write in terms of volumes?
Yeah, look, it's a varied question. So if we look in regards to volumes in respect to written business, it takes a time to build up. So I always sit back and say, the first 6 months is about building the foundation. You can't expect huge volumes, but that being said, you also want to get them on the treadmill and start writing. So in the first few months, it's quite slow. First 6 months, and you might be writing $1 million a month, at best, and that's with your accreditations going on around you. That's learning our internal processes, our referrals processes. But I look at things in 6 month blocks, and then your second 6 months comes along, and you want to see them getting close to that $2.5 million mark. So by the end of the first year, they're about a $30 million a year rider. The second year is where you make a lot of progress, and the goal for us over the second year is to get them much closer to a $60 million rider. We do that by taking away some of the barriers that exist. We do that by providing the leads and the volumes so that they're, sort of improving on their craft. They're speaking to more people. They're learning more about policy. So the building blocks are there. So at the end of the second year, they're much closer to a $60 million rider. So it's a different model, and it starts to increase sort of incrementally every quarter, every 6 months.
What types of volumes are your more senior, consistent mortgage brokers able to achieve within your business?
Yeah, we've got a number of brokers that have been with us from day one. We're pretty fortunate we don't have turnover. So once you get past that second year and you are completely ingrained in our system, in our process, you've got a real understanding of credit policy and the products out there, our expectations are that by the end of the third year, someone's sitting between $80 and $100 million of written business. We know we can do that. From a business perspective, we know we can provide close to 50 to 75% of that volume just in the way of our leads. And then we tailor them to go out there and be able to approach their own referral partnerships, because we want them to be freestanding brokers in their own right and build their own businesses and potentially hire staff. So, we've got a number of brokers that sit in 100 million to 120 million category. And what we're always looking to do is refine our systems and processes and identify ways in which we can remove barriers so our brokers continue breaking, sort of thresholds out there. When we first started the business, we had a watermark of maybe about $50 million per broker. It was an expectation that we put in place, but we didn't know any different. We thought anything over 30 or 40 was pretty great achievement. What we've found is that we've been able to build a business that's allowed people to continue growing volume. To the point where we see our whole team well over $100 million in the next 12 to probably 24 months. So in line with that, you can do the numbers from an income perspective. It would certainly put them in the top 1% of brokers in the country. and very lucrative.
It's fantastic. You've recently become an MFAA mentor. Now, what does that mean, and why did you go down that path?
Look, being a certified MFAA mentor, I was pretty apprehensive at first because we did have our own mentoring program. The reason I went down that path, having sat through the course and sat through the training, I realised that there was some huge advantages to very structured training. Our mentoring in the past was structured. It was very sales focused because I felt that was a real gap there for mortgage brokers, that they had the technical knowledge, but they didn't have the salesmanship to present that, both with client, referrer, or even lender for that matter. So I went down the path because I wanted to complement our sales training and mentoring with a structured education program. And look, it taught me a lot in respect to the fact that when you're starting out, there's a lot of basics that you really need to dumb down for the average broker starting out and create the right building blocks. The reason I went to become a certified mentor was because there was a huge gap. We were going out there trying to attract new brokers, and there wasn't great stock because they all had to do their certificates and diplomas and so on and so forth. So we were finding it was very hard to get people and bums in seats because our business required it. So the way I thought I could broach that was to go out, become a certified mentor, and attract some really new young talent to the industry, fresh blood, which sort of fit in with what our business was trying to achieve, and then build them up over 2 years. You know, in line with the volumes we're talking, build a real platform for them to truly understand what it is to be a mortgage broker and provide a great service.
So under that mentorship, the MFAA mentorship, what point of difference do you offer a new broker through Loan Studio as opposed to another MFAA mentor?
Yeah, look, I think there's great mentors out there and different models. You know, our model is very much based, as it is with our mortgage brokers in general, about we put in 110%, and if we don't put in the percent and you don't perform, we don't get really paid. So there's a lot of mentors out there that charge a monthly fee or $20,000 or $30,000 to start up. We don't charge those sorts of fees. It is built into a commission structure. It's a fair commission structure, we believe, because it says that if I put in the effort and the time and so forth with yourself, that you'll obviously reap the rewards in regards to volumes, we'll reap the rewards in regards to remuneration, and it's mutually beneficial. And we're pretty fortunate in the sense that brokers see true value in that. You know, they see what our business can do. The real point of difference in regards to the mentoring side of things is the fact that we have far more regular workshops. We have a team of people within the business that have extensive experience about brokering. So they're not just coming to myself from a mentor perspective, they have a broad team that they can go to. Different people specialise in different things. And I think the one gap that almost every mentor out there has is they can train you and they can teach you, but there's no point teaching you unless you've got real life scenarios. So a lot of people are coming on board and or are out there trying to find a mentor, but they're not getting the leads anyway. They're not speaking to the clients. So it's taking them a lot longer to learn. In our business, if you have the right characteristics, the right commitment, the right drive, we involve you in our referral partnerships. You're speaking to clients every day. You're running scenarios every day. And that allows you to accelerate, I guess, the rate in which you learn. And then we can mould that to the way we need it to be to take you from a new starting broker to what we would consider a high achiever in the industry.
Fantastic. And just in closing, if you would summarise, what sort of 3 questions would or should a new broker ask of their proposed MFAA mentor? So when they're looking for a new mentor, what things should a new broker look for?
I guess it's to truly understand how much time and energy that mentor is going to put into them. What is the structure they have in place? And that's the big difference, I guess, we've found with the certified MFAA mentoring course. It's very structured. So every aspect, whether it's commercial lending, car finance or home loans, are all being covered in that. So truly understanding was the content and what time is your mentor going to provide you in regards to one-on-one training and workshop training. Because there's a lot of mentors out there potentially that are charging fees but maybe taking the odd call. So that's probably number 1. Number 2 is, I guess, what is their cost structure? To truly understand how much is this costing me as a starting point and how much is it going to cost me over the first 2 years? And that's important because, time is one thing, but money is a whole different thing when you're starting out and you're commission only. It's not very easy to pay ongoing mentoring fees, especially if you're not writing loans. So it's really important to understand that side of things. And I guess number 3 is with regards to your mentor, where do they see you going? What sort of goals and expectations do they have on you? Because some mentors are there just to collect a check every month and so forth. I guess in our business, what we're looking to do is we're looking to attract great people. And we don't want them to be the average Joe at 10 and 12 or $15 million a year. We want them writing a lot more. So if your mentor has got pretty high expectations and standards, then you can almost be guaranteed that they're going to ensure that you have those high standards. So they're probably a couple of key points when trying to engage a mentor and work out, is he a right fit or wrong fit?
Fantastic. So if you're a new broker wanting to enter the industry or a broker wanting to achieve maximum potential, check out the guys at Loan Studio. Colin Sheppard, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.